Welcome, dear listener, and thank you for choosing to spend this time with us, settling in for our story, The Clockwork Gardener of Honey Dew. We hope this gentle journey offers you a peaceful respite. If you find comfort and calm in our tales and wish to explore more soothing soundscapes, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. It helps us greatly in bringing more content like this to you. Before we step through the hidden gate into Cogsworth's tranquil sanctuary, we will share a short breathing guidance to help ease you into relaxation. If you feel ready to begin the story immediately, please feel free to skip ahead. You can find the chapter timestamps conveniently listed in the description below this video. Now, find a position that feels truly comfortable for you. Allow your body to feel fully supported, perhaps noticing the softness of your pillow or the gentle weight of your blanket. Let your shoulders relax, your jaw soften, and take a moment just to be present. This time is yours, a quiet space carved out from the day, an invitation to welcome stillness. Imagine the soft, warm sunlight of a hidden garden, the air filled with the scent of honey and earth, and the gentle, rhythmic whirring of unseen, caring hands at work. Let this peaceful image begin to fill your thoughts. Let us take a slow, easy breath together now. Inhale gently through your nose, feeling the air fill your lungs without any strain, just a soft expansion. And then exhale slowly through your mouth, perhaps like a quiet sigh, releasing the breath and any lingering tension with it. Feel the gentle rhythm, inhale and exhale. With each breath, imagine a wave of warmth flowing into your body, loosening any tightness, bringing a sense of ease. Visualize the delicate, luminous petals of the nectar blooms, glistening with sweet dew, and hear the soft, reassuring click and whir of tin Cogsworth moving amongst them. If thoughts from the day drift into your mind, simply acknowledge them without judgment, like watching small clouds drift across a peaceful sky. Gently guide your attention back to the sensation of your breath, or the soothing sound of my voice. There is nothing else you need to do right now, but rest and listen. Feel the steady, comforting rhythm of the garden, a gentle pulse of peace. Allow this rhythm to deepen your relaxation, carrying away any worries or busyness, leaving only calm in their place. Feel the gentle weight of relaxation settling over you, a comforting presence. Now prepare to enter the Sunken Garden, where the Clockwork Gardener awaits with its quiet magic and honeyed gifts. Let the story begin. Chapter 1. The Sunken Gate and the Whirring Sound. The path Rowan followed wasn't really a path at all, more a suggestion whispered by slightly shorter grass and the memory of footsteps long since faded. The air here, away from the dusty track, felt different, cooler, carrying the scent of damp earth and something vaguely sweet, like clover after rain. Rowan walked without urgency, feet scuffing gently through the leaves, carrying a weariness that felt older than the miles traveled. It wasn't a physical exhaustion, but a quiet dimming of spirit, a subtle weight that had settled unnoticed over time, like fine dust on undisturbed furniture. It was the sound that first drew Rowan's attention, faint at first, easily mistaken for the hum of an unseen insect or the distant murmur of water. But as Rowan pushed aside a curtain of drooping willow branches, the sound became clearer, a soft, rhythmic whirring, punctuated by tiny, precise clicks. It was a gentle sound, steady and unassuming, yet utterly unfamiliar in these quiet woods. Curiosity, a feeling Rowan hadn't felt keenly in a long while, stirred like a sleepy creature waking from hibernation. Following the delicate clockwork heartbeat, Rowan moved deeper into the thicket. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy here, filtering down in dappled patches that danced on the mossy ground. The air grew warmer, the sweet scent intensifying, now clearly identifiable as honeysuckle and something richer, almost like warm honey itself. The whirring grew louder, a companionable presence in the stillness, leading Rowan towards a place where the trees seemed to part respectfully. There, nestled low against the earth as if it had settled down for a long nap, was a gate. It wasn't tall or imposing, but rather a humble arch of weathered gray stone, almost entirely swallowed by thick, velvety moss and tenacious ivy. It looked less like an entrance and more like a forgotten boundary, a threshold between the wild woods and something else entirely. The rhythmic whirring seemed to emanate from just beyond it. Hesitantly, Rowan placed a hand on the cool, damp stone. The gate wasn't locked, merely heavy and reluctant, groaning softly on ancient, unseen hinges as it swung inward. Stepping through, Rowan blinked. The light changed instantly, from the muted dimness of the woods to a soft, pervasive golden glow. It was a garden, but unlike any Rowan had ever seen. It lay in a shallow hollow, shielded from the wind, basking in what felt like perpetual late-afternoon sunshine. Orderly beds overflowed with strange and beautiful flowers, some glowing with a soft internal light, others bearing petals like spun sugar. Winding paths paved with smooth gray stones warmed by the sun meandered through the space. The air was thick with the promised scent of honey, mingled now with the fragrance of damp soil and countless blossoms. Bees, large and fuzzy, drifted lazily from bloom to bloom, their buzzing a low, contented thrum that harmonized with the gentle whirring. The sound was closer now, emanating from the heart of this tranquil sanctuary. It was a sound of peace, of quiet industry, of something wonderfully, calmly alive. Rowan stood just inside the gate, feeling the warmth soak into travel-worn clothes, the gentle sounds washing over the quiet weariness within. It felt like stepping into a secret, sun-drenched room, a place outside the normal flow of time. The weight on Rowan's spirit didn't vanish, but it seemed to shift, to become less burdensome in the face of such unexpected, gentle beauty. Taking a tentative step onto the warm stone path, Rowan felt the texture beneath thin-soled shoes, smooth, solid, reassuring. The garden seemed to breathe softly around them, a living tapestry of light, scent, and sound. The whirring continued its steady rhythm, an invitation deeper into this haven of quiet wonders. Rowan followed, drawn towards the source, a quiet anticipation replacing the earlier listlessness. Chapter 2. Tin Cogsworth and the Nectar Blooms. Rounding a cluster of bell-shaped flowers that shimmered with an inner blue light, Rowan found the source of the gentle mechanical symphony. Standing beside a bed of luminous, cup-shaped white blooms was an automaton. It wasn't large, perhaps coming up only to Rowan's chest, but it was exquisitely crafted. Its body was a blend of warm brass and rich copper, polished to a soft gleam, with intricate gears and levers partially visible beneath elegantly curved plates. Its limbs moved with a fluid, deliberate grace, quite unlike the jerky movements one might expect from Clockwork. The automaton was tending the luminous white flowers, its delicate copper fingers adjusting a stem here, brushing away a speck of dust there. Its head, a smooth dome of brass with two large dark lenses like tranquil pools for eyes, tilted slightly as Rowan approached. There was no sign of alarm or surprise, merely a quiet acknowledgement. The whirring sound came from within its chest, a steady, soft rhythm like a contented mechanical purr, accompanied by the faintest tick-tock, as if from a hidden, well-oiled clock. Rowan stopped a respectful distance away, unsure how to address such a being. The automaton paused in its work, turning fully towards Rowan. It raised one articulated hand, not in greeting or warning, but in a simple gesture of offering. From between its copper fingers, it extended a single, broad, green leaf, upon which rested a perfect, glistening droplet of clear liquid. It shimmered like captured sunlight, and Rowan could smell the intense honey fragrance rising from it. Hesitantly, Rowan stepped forward. The automaton remained perfectly still, its dark lenses seeming to hold a patient, gentle curiosity. Rowan leaned down slightly and touched a fingertip to the droplet. It was viscous and slightly warm, like fresh honey. Following an unspoken invitation, Rowan touched the fingertip to their tongue. The taste was divine, intensely sweet, like the most fragrant wildflower honey, but lighter, purer, with an aftertaste like sunshine and summer blooms. Almost instantly, a wave of warmth spread through Rowan's chest, a gentle easing of tension, a profound sense of calm settling like a soft blanket. The automaton emitted a series of soft, bell-like chimes from a small grill on its chest low, melodic tones that seemed to convey approval, or perhaps simple welcome. It then gestured with its head towards the luminous white flowers it had been tending. Rowan understood these must be the source of the magical dew, the nectar blooms, as they would come to call them in their mind. They glowed softly, their petals almost translucent, pulsing with a faint warm light. Rowan smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile that felt unfamiliar and welcome. "Thank you," Rowan whispered, the words feeling loud in the gentle quiet of the garden. The automaton responded with another soft chime, then turned back to its work, its movements precise and unhurried. It plucked a single fallen petal from the path with delicate pincers, examined a leaf for any blemishes, its whirring heart beating a steady rhythm of dedicated care. Watching the automaton, Rowan felt a sense of peace deepen. There was something profoundly soothing about its focused, gentle industry. It moved with purpose, yet without haste. Its existence seemed entirely devoted to the well-being of this hidden sanctuary. Rowan found a smooth, sun-warmed stone nearby and sat down, content simply to watch, to breathe in the honeyed air, and to listen to the soft whirring and clicking, the gentle pulse of the Clockwork gardener. Rowan mentally named it Tin Cogsworth, a name that felt both whimsical and fitting for this brass and copper guardian of tranquility. Cogsworth, as if sensing Rowan's quiet presence, occasionally paused and tilted its head, emitting a soft chime before resuming its tasks. There was no need for words. The shared quiet, the warmth of the sun, the sweet air, and the automaton's gentle diligence created a space of profound calm. The weariness Rowan carried felt distant now, held at bay by the simple magic of the garden and its tireless clockwork tender. Chapter 3. The Rhythm of the Garden. Days drifted by in the sunken garden like fallen petals on a slow stream. Rowan lost track of time, not in a way that felt neglectful, but rather liberating. The sun's gentle arc across the amethyst-like sky, though Rowan never saw the sky directly, only its light filtering down, and Cogsworth's predictable routine became the only clocks needed. Morning began with Cogsworth making its rounds, checking each nectar bloom for dew, its internal mechanisms whirring softly in the cool air. Midday was often spent near the sunniest spots, where Cogsworth would sometimes pause, its metallic surfaces seeming to soak up the warmth. Evenings involved a slow, methodical tidying of paths and petals before Cogsworth settled into a quieter state near the central nectar bloom bed, its whirring softening almost to a hum. This rhythm became deeply comforting to Rowan. The predictability, devoid of any demand or expectation, was a balm to a spirit weary of the world's uncertainties. Rowan began to find simple ways to participate in the garden's gentle upkeep. At first, it was just picking up fallen leaves or stray pebbles from the paths. Cogsworth observed these small efforts with its dark lenses, responding with soft, encouraging chimes. Soon, Rowan felt comfortable enough to offer more direct help. Finding a soft cloth tucked away in a small niche near the gate, likely left by Cogsworth, Rowan began gently polishing the automaton's brass and copper plating. Cogsworth would stand perfectly still for this, its whirring softening further, almost like a sigh of contentment. Rowan took care, tracing the intricate lines and smooth curves, feeling the satisfying coolness of the metal beneath the cloth gradually warm under the sun and the friction. It was a quiet act of connection, a way of showing gratitude without words. Other small tasks followed. Rowan learned which plants preferred more water, carefully using a small, beautifully crafted copper watering can that Cogsworth indicated. There was a patch of soft, feathery moss near the gate that seemed to appreciate being gently cleared of fallen twigs. Rowan took to sorting the smooth, warm stones that lined the pathways, ensuring they were evenly placed, feeling their comforting weight and texture in hand. Each task was simple, grounding, requiring presence but not strenuous effort. The work felt good. It wasn't labor in the way Rowan had known it outside the garden, demanding, often draining. Here it felt like participation, a gentle joining with the garden's peaceful existence. Rowan's hands, often idle before, now found purpose in tending, polishing, sorting. The quiet focus required pushed away the lingering threads of weariness, replacing them with a sense of simple accomplishment and belonging. Rowan often sat near Cogsworth as it worked, sometimes sketching the luminous flowers in a small notebook brought along the journey, sometimes simply watching the automaton's meticulous movements. The whirring and clicking became as familiar and soothing as the sound of gentle rain on a roof. Rowan learned to distinguish subtle variations in the sound's a slightly faster rhythm when Cogsworth was winding an internal spring, a softer hum when it was merely observing. In the quiet companionship of the Clockwork gardener amidst the honeyed scents and warm sunlight, Rowan felt a gradual mending taking place. The unnamed weight was lifting, not through grand gestures or profound revelations, but through the steady accumulation of peaceful moments, the comfort of routine, and the quiet dignity of simple, shared work. The garden, tended by its diligent automaton, was also tending to Rowan, offering a sanctuary where a tired spirit could slowly, gently begin to heal. Chapter 4. Whispers on the Copper Wind. Chimes. One particularly warm afternoon when the air hung still and sweet, Tin Cogsworth paused in its meticulous deadheading of some small star-shaped blue flowers. It turned its brass head towards Rowan, who was sitting on a smooth stone bench, sketching the intricate patterns on Cogsworth's own copper arm. The automaton emitted a series of soft, inquisitive chimes, different from its usual sounds, more melodic, almost questioning. It then made a slow, deliberate gesture with one articulated hand, beckoning Rowan to follow. Intrigued, Rowan closed the notebook and stood, brushing crumbs of graphite from worn trousers. Cogsworth led the way, its soft whirring a familiar guide, moving along a less trodden path towards a corner of the garden Rowan hadn't fully explored. This path wound beneath the branches of an ancient tree with smooth, silvery bark that seemed to shimmer faintly in the golden light. Its leaves were broad and heart-shaped, casting a dappled, cooling shade. Hanging from the lower branches of this venerable tree were wind chimes, but these were unlike any Rowan had ever encountered. They weren't made of bamboo or shells, but of intricately shaped pieces of copper. Some formed like miniature gears, others like slender leaves, others still like perfectly formed droplets. They gleamed softly in the filtered sunlight, looking ancient yet perfectly maintained. Cogsworth stopped beneath them, tilting its head upwards, and emitted a soft, expectant chime. As if on cue, a gentle breeze, almost imperceptible until that moment, stirred through the garden. It rustled the heart-shaped leaves above and set the copper chimes into slow, lazy motion. They didn't clang or tinkle sharply. Instead, they produced a sound that was incredibly soft, a series of low, resonant tones interwoven with something else. Whispers. Faint, fleeting whispers like fragments of lullabies hummed long ago, or calming words spoken just below the threshold of hearing. Peaceful, easy, rest now, like floating, sunlight warm. Rowan stood utterly still, captivated. The whispers weren't distinct words forming coherent sentences, but rather impressions. Feelings translated into breathy sound by the movement of the copper. They seemed to ride on the gentle chime tones, weaving in and out, creating an incredibly soothing auditory tapestry. It felt like listening to the garden's dreams, or perhaps echoes of peaceful thoughts left behind by whoever created this place and its gentle guardian. Cogsworth gestured towards the ground beneath the tree, a patch of particularly soft moss. Rowan sank down, leaning back against the smooth, cool trunk of the silver-barked tree. Cogsworth settled nearby, its whirring slowing to its softest hum, its dark lenses also directed upwards towards the gently swaying chimes. The breeze continued its subtle dance, bringing waves of whispered calm. Rowan closed their eyes, focusing only on the sounds, the deep, resonant hum of the copper, the airy whispers weaving through them, the soft rustle of leaves overhead, and the steady, comforting presence of Cogsworth's quiet whirring nearby. Time seemed to dissolve. Worries, anxieties, the lingering shadows of weariness, they didn't fight for attention, they simply receded, smoothed away by gentle sonic balm. Rowan felt tension release from shoulders, the brow uncrease. It was like being submerged in lukewarm water, every muscle softening, the mind growing quiet and still. There was a feeling of profound safety, of being held gently by the garden's atmosphere. Rowan drifted in this state for a long while, feeling warmth from the sun-dappled moss below and the coolness of the tree bark behind, anchored by the steady sounds of peace. The copper chimes, stirred by the lazy breeze, continued their whispered lullaby. Chapter 5. A Pocketful of Sunlight. A sense of quiet completion began to settle over Rowan, much like the evening dew settled on the Nectar Blooms. It wasn't a sudden event, but a gradual realization, dawning slowly like the gentle light that filled the garden each morning. The deep weariness that had clung so persistently had loosened its grip, replaced by a feeling of quiet resilience, a rediscovered lightness within. The Sunken Garden and its tireless, gentle, tender tin Cogsworth had offered more than just respite. They had offered restoration. Rowan knew with a certainty that held no sadness that it was time to leave. The garden was a sanctuary, a place of healing, but it was not meant to be a permanent refuge from the world outside. The peace found here was now a part of Rowan. something to be carried forward, a quiet strength to draw upon. Sharing this unspoken understanding, Rowan spent the last day simply being present, sitting beside Cogsworth, helping polish a particularly intricate set of gears on its back, and listening one last time to the whispers of the copper wind chimes under the silver-barked tree. As the golden light began to deepen, signaling the garden's version of twilight, Cogsworth paused in its work. It turned to Rowan, its dark lenses seeming to hold a gentle understanding. It reached down to the path, its precise copper fingers selecting a small, perfectly smooth gray pebble, warmed by the day's sun. Cogsworth carefully placed the stone into Rowan's open palm. It felt solid, comforting, radiating a gentle residual warmth. Then Cogsworth produced something else. A tiny vial no bigger than Rowan's thumb, crafted from what looked like spun moonlight or solidified dew. It was stoppered with a miniature copper cork, shaped like a nectar bloom. Inside the vial shimmered the familiar golden honey dew, catching the light like liquid sunshine. Cogsworth pressed this carefully into Rowan's other hand, a farewell gift, a tangible piece of the garden's magic and peace to carry away. Rowan closed fingers around the warm stone and the cool vial, feeling a swell of quiet gratitude, too deep for words. Rowan simply met Cogsworth's lens-like eyes and offered a soft smile, hoping it conveyed the depth of thanks felt. The automaton responded with a series of low, melodic chimes, a sound Rowan had come to associate with contentment and farewell. It then turned and gave a final, minute adjustment to a nearby nectar bloom, its whirring steady and constant, already resuming the rhythm of its existence. With the warm stone in one pocket and the precious vial safely tucked away in another, Rowan walked slowly back towards the sunken gate. The air was still sweet, the light soft, the sounds of the garden, the whirring, the distant hum of bees settling for the night. The occasional soft drip of dew felt like a gentle embrace. Reaching the moss-covered stone archway, Rowan paused and looked back one last time. Cogsworth was silhouetted against the glowing flowers, a figure of diligent peace in its timeless sanctuary. Rowan pushed the heavy gate open, the groan of its hinges sounding louder now, and stepped back into the familiar dimness of the surrounding woods. Pulling the gate closed, the click of the old latch settling into place felt strangely final. The soft, rhythmic whirring of tin Cogsworth faded quickly behind the stone and moss, replaced by the whisper of wind in the ordinary trees and the distant call of a night bird. Yet the peace remained. Rowan could feel the gentle warmth of the stone in their pocket, a tiny anchor to the tranquility experienced, the memory of the honey dew's taste, the sight of the luminous flowers, the sound of the whispering chimes, and the steady presence of the Clockwork gardener. These were now woven into Rowan's spirit, a pocketful of sunlight to carry on the journey ahead.